Take a listen to what Attorney General Pam Bondi had to say about the number of Iranian nationals coming across our border under Biden.
There was a report, of over 1,500 Iranian nationals that have entered the country illegally over the last several years. Do we know out of those over 1,500, how many of those have been convicted of a crime?
Yeah, I don't have the number of the conviction, but it's well over 1,000 have entered. Yes, I don't know if it's quite up to 1,500, but yes, it's well over 1,000 have entered our country. And I can tell you we are on high alert, and everyone is looking at that very closely.
Former acting Homeland Security Chief Chad Wolf joins me now. ICE says that since Sunday, they've arrested 11 Iranian nationals who are here illegally. Obviously, they're concerned about sleeper cells. What do we know about this? And do we have eyes on these people?
Well, obviously, the number of individuals that came across that southern border during the Biden and Harris administration and then were released into American communities, I think those are the most troubling because we don't know who they are. We don't know where they are going and how they have traveled throughout the country. So again, very concerning. I think you've got to be concerned on multiple fronts, right? You got to be concerned from a cybersecurity perspective. You've got to also be concerned about individuals that are being inspired by the Iranian government to do certain events as well.
Why would the administration, the Biden administration, why would they let in people from Iran? I mean, why would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us were asking that question for 4 years because it wasn't just Iran. It's been, it's Chinese nationals and it's others from other countries of concern. I mean, we had a handful of individuals show up on a terrorist watch list that were from Tajikistan, I believe. And so all of these countries are not friendly to the United States, right? Particularly not Iran. Why they would continue to allow them in? They would claim that they were here for political asylum. But obviously, we know that that's not entirely true. And so the consequences of 4 years of Biden and Harris opening that border are unfortunately going to manifest itself in a variety of different ways. And in this case, obviously, we've got to be concerned about those folks that are either from Iran or Iranian-backed of some kind, Hezbollah, Hamas, and others, their proxies, that have gotten across that border and that are here in the United States.
If Iran were to launch cyber attacks against America, and if it was proven that those attacks came directly from Iran, what should we do? What should America do about it?
Yeah, well, the attribution of any cyber attack is really, really important, right? Because we need to call out those that are backed by the Iranian government versus other cyber actors as well. Iran's not the only one. What you're likely going to see is you're going to see a variety of different cyber actors take advantage of this situation to launch certain attacks against mainly critical infrastructure, but also other elements of the federal government. But if we are able to attribute an individual or a group of individuals that are Iranian-backed, we should come out and say that and obviously hold them accountable. And that'll be a decision that President Trump is going to have to make of, depending on the severity of that attack, what is going to be the repercussions of that.
What kind of repercussions could there be? What could the president do? I mean, fire some guns or something, drop a couple of bombs, and would we do that?
No, you're likely to see some offensive cyber capabilities that the U.S. government has back to sort of counter that, right? You need to make sure that it's proportional and that you don't want to do something that's going to escalate this. I don't think that's where President Trump wants to go. But depending on the severity of the attack, particularly if it's critical infrastructure and they are successful, I think you got to take that into account. But look, the federal government, through a variety of different agencies, have been on guard, obviously, since the U.S. dropped those bombs. They're waiting for some type of response, and so I think they're going to be well positioned to thwart any type of major attack.
Chad, just out of interest, we always hear about cyber attacks on us. Well, do we have the capacity to attack other countries' governments with our cyber warfare? Can we do it? Are we good at it?
We absolutely have that capability, and yes, we are very good at it. I'll probably stop there and saying what more of our capabilities are, but yes, the United States government, through a variety of different means, has the ability to launch offensive cyber capabilities.
All good stuff. Chad, thanks for joining us this morning. Hope to see you again real soon.